Now let's look at some compositions when the trig functions are not identical. So what I cannot do is just go cancel, cancel, answer 4/5 because now I have sine and cosine. So even if it was within my domain, it doesn't, which this is, it's less than 1, it would not work. So here's how we do this. Remind you, psi y, cos x, tangent is y over x. So if cos is x, there's a silent h in there, which means cosine inverse would be giving you an x over h, and it would equal theta. When you do the inverse, you swap those. So that means, in my example here, 4 is my x, 5 is my h. So if I want to draw a triangle, I would have a positive x, because it's positive, which means I know I'm going right. The h is positive. Well, h is always positive. So technically, you could go this way or this way. I'm going to draw it up, just because I like working that way better. And then I have my y value, which we don't know if it's necessarily positive or negative, but I'll just draw it like that. So we have an x value of 4, and we have an h value of 5. Now, if we wanted to type all this in the calculator, we could, and it would give us an answer. Typically, if you type this in, it would give us an angle. But we're going to do this without the calculator. Here's what we would first do. Given this, we have this relationship. Now, sine is in normal form, which is expecting to put an angle in. Remember how I said this would give you an angle? And then sine is expecting an angle, and it would spit out the side lengths. It's going to spit out, remember, sine of some angle will equal a y over h. That's what it'll spit out. So really, all I could get my answer from this if I know my y over h, because whatever this is would be this angle, and then it'd plug the angle in the sine, and it would spit out the y over h. So let's just find the y, and I could get my answer. So how do I find my y? Well, I use Pythagorean theorem. X squared plus y squared is going to equal my h squared. In this case, my x is 4. So 4 squared plus my unknown y squared equals my h squared, which is 5 squared. Now let's simplify. 4 squared is 16, plus that unknown equals 25. I solve by subtracting 16, and I find out that y squared equals 9. To get rid of a square, I do square root, and anytime you do a square root, you should have plus or minus. So y equals plus or minus 3. Anytime you use an even root that's not originally there, you do a plus or minus. That means y could be positive 3 this way, or we could have drawn this with the positive x and the h going this way, and the y being negative. So my answer here would be that sine of cosine inverse of 4/5 equals the y over h, which is 3 over 5. Technically speaking, it should be plus or minus, but we usually do the first occurring. So the positive would occur just as quick as the negative if it went this way. So you take the positive 3. And so that would be our answer, 3/5. And so let's try it in our calculator. So I go to trig, type in sine, and now I type in cosine inverse, and I type in the fraction, which is 4/5. I type in there, I get 0.6, and if I needed to convert that, you go menu, number, convert to fraction, or approximate as a fraction, hit enter, 3/5. So it is, in fact, 3/5 like we got. Now I got one for you to try.